everybody, and welcome to the Fandom Flux podcast, episode 86?
I don't know.
Sure. That sounds about right.
Sure, let's go with that.
Every week.
Shut up. Shut up, Ken. You don't know. You don't know the hardships I go through.
I don't know the trouble you see.
Posting. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
I'm KCW, and with me we have Slicer.
Hello.
Zero.
Nobody knows
And
but
Ken.
Jesus.
Hi, I'm Kenchi618, and my face is all red and purple and stuff.
I asked you what you did, and then you...
I'm not injured. That's what's important.
Face paint? You in cosplaying or
No.
something? Oh.
I'm beaten up.
You said you...
I'm not injured. There's a difference between hurt and injured.
Okay, if you say
For
so.
crazy people, maybe.
Alright, so what have we been doing? Let's start with... Slicer.
Sure. All right. Fairly short one this week, actually. The weather has been bad. I honestly feel for anyone who lives in the entire center of our country. I actually just this morning, I looked out my window. I was planning to run to the gas station to get an energy drink because I've been awake for a while. And the wind was so hard that trees were like creaking audibly through my window. So none of that. I'd probably get blown off the road. And we had this weird freak storm that happened. It was just very sudden. It was just calm, and then suddenly the wind is blowing hard enough to make the house shake. That was terrifying, actually. Yeah, so just one weird weather thing after the other. Temperatures that will not stay in one place at all. I go to bed one night with one blanket half on me and wake up freezing. We'll go to bed like that because of the heat, I mean, but yeah.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, I started reading One Piece, finally.
Yay!
I'm really enjoying it, actually. I was completely wrong about Luffy's character, which I'm just going to blame on everyone I know, because they didn't tell me. Forced to blame on everyone else, not me. I'm perfect.
No, he's a moron, so if that's what they were saying, then yeah, they were right.
Yeah. Alright then, yeah.
It's a bit more, he has a bit of Peter Pan syndrome going on.
He's a very frank character.
He didn't want to and never really had to grow up. So that's basically what his character's like. He's like a big kid.
Right. That does explain a lot, actually, yeah. I'm up to the Usopp arc, and the second Usopp appeared, I just stopped caring at all. So I didn't want to lose interest completely, so I just watched One Piece, which is One Piece Abridged by Purple Eyes. It's really something special. Everyone needs to watch it. That is One Piece, as in One Piece with an N in the front.
Yeah, okay. You're basically saying, hey, link that, okay.
I was actually saying look it up, but sure, whatever.
Yeah, don't watch that for the sake of the anime, because it's not going to be Dragon Ball Z abridged. It's not going to tell the story anyway. It's just going to be riffing on the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's watch the anime before you watch that, because it will spoil it. Not storyline spoil. I mean, like, it's far more entertaining in a different sort of way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you get back to the Sanji arc, just watch the regular anime or read the manga, whichever you prefer. Because it starts picking up again there, and then it just runs with it after that.
That's good. Good to know. And lastly, my internet has been absolute shit. Like, me and Casey could only record one session because I could not see anything. My video quality was so bad.
Yeah, it turned out to be one episode, by the way.
Yeah.
It's about 50 minutes.
That's not bad. It was either one really long or two short ones, so, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was... makes Casey sing Pompeii. I learned this.
Yep.
Shut up.
But we did the Iron Keep, and I'm really grateful that we did that area in specific because it's a very striking area, and I'm familiar enough with the game to know where he was, judging by the blobs on my screen.
Mm.
Which, I mean, I knew where he was, but I couldn't really do any meaningful commentary, so that's why we had to cut it short. Oh well. It was fun, though. But I put some money on our preload card to pay a friend of mine for a commission for a cover piece for the Dark Souls thing. And I had some money left over for that, and so I bought State of Decay, because that was re-released either recently or just, I don't know. But I've been playing that pretty much the entire week, and I've found some interesting things. First off, is anyone familiar with the Bloodborne memory leak thing?
Yeah.
If you play the game long enough, the bosses start getting stupid, and they just don't do most of their moves.
Really?
Yeah. Their movesets are incredibly limited because of it. It's weird. But this game seems to have something similar in that the game just kind of forgets that you need to eat and sleep and heal yourself. Like increase your max health. I mean, if you get too injured, your max health drops. So, but yeah, it's weird. It might be because I'm playing only heroes, which are special characters you unlock by doing challenges. But yeah, I've been using the same character for like 8 hours now. They should be completely out of everything, but I guess not. I don't know. They due to the re-release, they changed a bunch of stuff, and one of them was the spawn rates and detection radius of zombies. And when you're looting stuff, when you're shooting, you're making a lot of sound, obviously, and you're supposed to be sneaking, but that method never works, ever. But I've seen zombies sprinting at me from the draw distance, which is pretty far. And they spawn inside the building you're in, sometimes. Very rarely, but it's not usually that bad. It's very frustrating sometimes, but combat is janky enough that they can get you a lot. I don't know.
Fucking feral zombies.
Oh, those things suck.
Yeah, they do.
The challenges. They didn't change any of the challenges for the breakdown mode, which is essentially just doing the campaign over and over again and resetting with increasing difficulty.
Mm.
And one of them is to max out everything you can make. And no base can hold every facility. So you need to just kind of go through the list, and I have 10 of 11, and I don't know which one I missed. So I need to make every one over again.
Mm.
And you need every research project, which there's 8 of them, and all of them take, well, okay, guess how long they take, each. This is where you guess.
8 hours?
20
Okay, I expected you to guess lower. They're 4 hours each. Real-time hours, not in-game hours.
Oh, right. Then, yeah, that makes more sense.
So I just get to sit here doing nothing for effectively 24 hours, or something along those lines. 8 times 4, 32 hours. Whatever. Yeah.
You gotta pay the price of success.
I have a base that's...
You do realize that the game is active when you're not playing, right? So basically it will calculate the time while you're not playing.
Yeah, but then I lose supplies. I have this nasty habit of having more supplies than I can actually hold. So if I do that, I will lose like 300 of every resource.
Yeah.
When you restart, you have to restart at the RV, and that could hold, 15 of every resource? And I was carrying around almost 400 by the time I finally settled into a base. So if I would stop playing, I would have lost all of that. It's a weird game. It really pushes you to just keep playing and never shut it off.
Mm.
For that fact, because you're just going to lose stuff when you're not there. People are stupid. They use a bunch of ammo. They use a bunch of health. Yes. I found they added a new mode in Lifeline, which is you go to a new city and you are a military base, essentially, with 4 people, I think, left. And you just gotta rescue a bunch of high-value targets from the city and find other soldiers to recruit there's a threat level, which I don't know why they even have it. It's always at 1, and when it's 2, you need to haul back to base, and then it turns to 3 pretty quick, and then you get it sieged or besieged or whatever, and then you got to fight off a bunch of zombies, and that's great, but it gets really challenging. But on the other hand, all of your characters are super strong, and you have effectively infinite ammo. You start with a lot of ammo, and you find a lot of it. And you can have stuff airlifted in, which is great. You never run out of supplies, as long as you keep doing that. And it uses the influence stuff, which you get by the hundreds if you bring in stuff on a regular basis. And it costs only 50 each.
So is it like an infinite thing like Breakdown, or is it a sort of mini campaign thing going on?
It has a story, so realistically it does have an endpoint, but eventually it's just you, and you save this reporter girl that runs the radio, and she picks up distress signals from random people, and they're randomized, they're not story. You hear all of them within, I don't know, 30 minutes. So once you reach that point, you can call for evac for your team, and then you're out of there, and you're done pretty much. But you can realistically keep going, but it took me about 3 hours to get everything from the map. It was completely scoured clean. I could not scavenge anything else. And so there was nothing to do, actually. Except for wait for more sieges, I guess. It was a fun mode, but it didn't take very long. It was a nice change of pace from gameplay, that was for sure. Nice to be able to use guns for once, I suppose. I pretty much avoided them completely in my first playthrough, and that was fine, but yeah, once I started using them, I didn't know how to, because it's a pretty bad aiming system. Yeah. But that's my week. I'm still just sitting in a game, waiting for stuff to research. I have a base comprised entirely of libraries, just researching everything en masse. Yeah.
Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Ken.
All right. So, Ken, my body hurts.
Yes, Ken.
I'm very tired of so much wrestling on Sunday, which was Mother's Day. So, basically, I got my ass kicked for like pretty much 4 hours straight because only 3 students showed up at the wrestling camp for Mother's Day. And of the 3 of them, I was the only one who was sort of capable in the ring. One of them was like a 13 or 14-year-old kid that's terrified of everything. Like, he won't even, like, take a fall right. He won't take it straight on his back. 'Cause I guess he's afraid of hitting his head or something. But you keep your chin tucked so you don't do that, so I don't know what... I don't get it. The other dude is an older guy, way older than me. But he does not know what he's doing in there at all. He is awful with directions. It's terrible. Like, I'll tell him, like, I back him up against the ropes and tell him, hit the ropes on the other side, take a clothesline. He'll come back and, like, try to give me a clothesline. It's really bad. It's rough. And because I was the only one who was even sort of reliable, I had to be in first on all of the drills we did.
So you had to be the teacher's test dummy.
Yeah. I had to take all the bumps, every move, basically test dummy, like he said. And it was a good day to figure shit out and ask questions on all that. And I learned a lot, but it was long. I was in there for everything. I had to work all the matches with the instructors, so I was basically tired as fuck. There were like 3 of them, and I had to rotate in and out with them because I was the only one that could kind of do matches at this point. So I was just going back to back to back to back. Oh, God. And I had to take everybody's special move and everything. At one point, I got Superkicked, and I took a few Superkicks. And if you don't know what Superkick is, just go on YouTube and Google Superkick. You'll figure it out pretty quick.
I was about to explain or ask what that was, but sure, I'll YouTube it later.
Yeah, just go on YouTube and look at Superkick. You'll get like a billion videos. You'll figure it out pretty quick. And most of them were pretty good, but 1 or 2 got me pretty good. And my face felt them and marked me up. And it was the most tired I've been all year long. My body still hurts, and as of now, it's been 2 days. Ow. So yeah, rough Sunday in the office.
Oh, it's a sidekick. Okay.
Pretty much.
I know what that is.
To my face. To my face.
Yeah.
I see. I guess you're watching it. Yeah, you're watching it, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, there's a GIF on the Wrestling Wiki. I'll link the article, I guess.
All right. And in addition to that, I was fine with it though, because I was expecting some good R&R. You know, Sunday was the last day I worked before I was supposed to get 3 days off. That didn't happen. So I got called into work Tuesday morning at midnight, from midnight to 9. So basically, by the time we started the podcast, it'll be back for like an hour or so. And I was supposed to spend yesterday healing, and I would have turned it down, but I realized I'm broke as fuck right now, and I need the money. Plus, I'm literally the only person at my... What?
I thought you got a big boost in pay from...
I haven't gotten paid yet. That's supposed to come on this paycheck. I don't get that till Friday.
Oh.
I'm broke right now. I need every scrap I can get. And plus, aside from that, I'm literally the only person who could have come in to do it. I'm the only assistant producer. All the other producers have assigned slots for when they're supposed to work. Like someone works the 5 o'clock newscast in the afternoon, the 6 o'clock one in the afternoon, the 10 at night, and the 11 at night. Well, there's someone that's supposed to work the morning show. She couldn't make it, so they had to call someone in. That left no one to do the assistant part, except for me. If I hadn't come in, the producer would have just been putting a 2-hour show together and running it by herself, which just ain't going to happen. So I had to do it.
That is
I'm not that
bad,
much of a... Yeah, I'm not that much of a dick.
Yeah.
It's not to say I'm not
Hero
going to take it. Yeah, that's not to say I'm not going to completely exploit the fact that I did this of my own free will and take advantage of that later down the line. But, you know, got to get something out of it.
It's nice to have favors owed to you.
Yeah. In addition to that, I updated Less Than Zero.
Yeah, you did.
Still enjoying that. Apparently Casey enjoys it as well. I'm happy with that.
It's a good thing.
I don't get many bad things about it. People don't give me many bad reviews about it. I'm really happy with it so far. And that's pretty much all I can think of this week.
I love that Ken's been like a robot for half of his talk about what he was doing this week. It's great.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's weird.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. It's great. It's really great.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
We can hear that, actually. It's pretty apparent. I still gotta go watch the Avengers movie after we're done here, so my day is not over anytime soon.
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay.
It's a good movie.
Can't talk about it yet?
No.
Hang on, what's the date? No, it's the 12th. God damn it.
Next
They're gonna
week,
ruin
I think
it
you can.
hours before he sees it. Or spoil it, rather. Probably not ruin it.
Yeah. Next week. Okay. Is that it, Ken?
I have forgot one thing.
That's it.
Ken's done.
Okay.
Right.
Slicer?
I'm done.
This game has an autosave feature. That's stated okay. I mean, I don't know why I'd mean anything else. But, and it normally doesn't matter, but when it's autosaving, the frame rate drops a little bit, except when you're driving, it has to load things at the same time, so the frame rate drops too, since I have Steam's handy-dandy FPS counter. 7 frames a second. And when you're driving, that's bad. When it freezes, it locks whatever controls you had on. So if you have the gas pedal and you were adjusting your steering a little bit, you slam into walls and telephone poles and trees and everything else. So cars don't tend to last long, no matter how careful you are.
Got that GTA driving going on, I see.
I've never been a good driver, so this is just making it worse. Well, okay, in video games, I'm a pretty good driver in real life. But, yeah,
Thank God.
That's it. Just that.
All right.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll go next. Zero recommended Critical Role last week. Well, I don't think he recommended it, but he talked about it, and it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. It's pretty fucking great.
Look it up on
Slicer,
their site if
unfortunately,
you can, because it seems like the YouTube is just their highlight of their stream, and it's 9
yeah,
minutes.
it's just a fan that did some highlights.
Just go to the geeksandsundry.com or whatever.
It's 9 minutes of a 3-hour stream that you don't have any kind of context for any of the jokes. It's pretty bad.
It missed some of the best bits, too. Like, fucking... I love how Laura Bailey keeps forgetting that she has a pet bear.
It's Trinket!
Like, they're trying to be like, oh, we're all nonchalant brother and sister on a tour of a dwarven city, and the gods stop them, and like, you shouldn't be here. And it's, no, we're fine, we just... Tourists, we look. They say there's some nice statuary down there, and then the DM will put the dwarves see there's a pet bear that's just sort of walking out of the shadows of an alley.
I'm shocked something hasn't killed it yet.
Half the time, it's not actually around because they keep forgetting it gets left in places.
Yeah.
There was a very close call in a bar at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. She basically tells Trinket to go back to the bar so that, they can keep searching the city. And they get back to the bar eventually and go to the room to rest for the night. And the landlady shows up and says, there's a bear downstairs. Is he yours? And there's sort of a fighting ring in the bar.
Yeah.
And the Trinket, the bear, has decided, he's just sort of getting pushed into it. And the pit champion is sort of like, oh, I'm gonna fight this fucking bear. It's a great show. Yeah, so they, like Zero said, they're all voice actors. And they all do voices for their character. Most of the time, they stay in character. They don't even talk normally unless they're specifically talking. Hey, dice rolls, fucking, it's the rolls. And I had no idea who Matt Mercer was before watching the show. God damn, he is a voice actor. It's pretty amazing, the job he does. The amount of effort he puts into every different character. You get the fucking very well-to-do butler dwarf guy. You get the landlady, who he does very feminine mannerisms and movements while he's speaking as her. You've got the gruff and, drunken, brawling champion. And you have the... Yeah, it's a dwarven city, so yes.
Matt Mercer, by the way, you should know him. He does the voice of Kanji Tatsumi from Persona 4 Arena Ultimax.
Yeah, he's the replacement.
Yeah, he's the replacement. But...
and the fucking Illithid.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was amazing. He makes that really, really creepy.
It's got I can't do it because just doing that, your breath, you're exhaling all your breath by doing that.
Yeah, he very specifically describes it as a voice in your head because illithids they have tentacle mouths, they can't actually speak human speech. So he just sort of talks like this.
Stop! Yeah, that's weird. Stop it.
It's really cool.
It's a cool idea for a voice, but stop doing it.
Yeah. It's awesome. I want to see more things that he's in, just so I can see a broader range of his voice acting, because that's pretty incredible.
In Magi, 11th of Magic, did the voice of Sinbad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem with, anime voice actors tend to get pigeonholed as, okay, this is what your voice sounds like, cool, we'll just put you as this character.
He was Leon S. Kennedy in Resident Evil 6, that game doesn't exist.
And he did his own voice. That's the problem, that's what I'm talking about. anime voice actors and game voice actors, they don't get to do character voices very often. They just do their own voice as this character. So they don't get to play around with doing interesting voices or strange and unusual voices.
He was Kiritsuga in Fate Zero.
Huh. Cool.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark. He did his own voice there as well.
I don't know. I didn't watch Fate Zero. I probably should.
Neither did I.
And he did, in Street Fighter High, the musical, he did Dan Hibiki.
What? That's a thing?
It is. It was a short. He did Skelter Helter, No More Heroes 2. Wow. Yeah, he does a lot of background voices. He did the main character of Star Ocean, The Last Hope, though. He did like 3 different characters in that. And he does the voice of Fei Long from Street Fighter.
Okay, we don't need his full credits list.
No, his full credits list is far longer than what I'm reading.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of the cast I haven't actually heard of, though I've probably heard the voices and things before.
Yeah.
But it's pretty great. And Scanlan's singing is amazing. He plays a bard, so I guess it's a house rule that if he's doing any like inspirational songs or anything, then he has to actually sing them.
Sure.
So he sings "Sexual Healing" as a healing song.
Yeah.
Wow. Great.
Yeah, a lot of things like that. It wouldn't surprise me if at some point he just sings Tenacious D. They're very much fans of singing Wonder Boy for teamwork moments. Oh wait, no, not Wonder Boy. Fuck Her Gently. That one.
Ah.
That's fucking teamwork. That bit. Yeah, so that's an amazing show. I basically binge-watched 6 episodes of that. That's 18 hours of content since Thursday. It's recording on Tuesday. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've still got 3 episodes to watch. So, is it a weekly show, Zero? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, cool.
They usually stream it, so maybe catch a stream if you catch up.
Can you connection support a stream?
Huh?
Can your connection support a stream, or do you just not like them?
It can, but you can watch the I forget what it's called. Basically, they leave the recorded videos on. I think Twitch's policy is still like 2 months.
Something like that, yeah. It's not very long, but yeah, you can.
Yeah, so you could just watch. I could just watch that afterwards. It's easier than trying to figure out, because that'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning that they'd be recording probably.
Oh, right.
I think they record at nights, so. Yeah, aside from that, I've been playing the fuck out of Sonic Generations.
Why?
I basically challenged myself to 100% it and complete every challenge and every achievement.
Our little Casey's growing up. He was a Chivo crazy. It was great.
God damn it.
Why is Kenshi mad? It's a great game.
You got 100% it just...
Huh?
You got 100% it just because you want to?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Completionists.
What the reason is there?
I'm not a completion. This is pretty much the first game that I've ever bothered with, hey, I want to do everything. So, yeah, I fucking did everything. In fact, right before we started recording Reflux a couple of hours ago, I realized there's an achievement I'm missing, and Steam doesn't show it. So I had to look up which one was missing, and re-download the game because I deleted it, and do that. It was the Supersonic one. You have to finish a level as Supersonic.
Well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were off recording, but...
Yeah,
but,
it was right
Steam
before we started.
It was? Or...
Yeah.
Right,
right before we started recording, yeah.
Steam doesn't always tell you what all the achievements are. It's like a secret achievement on the 360 or Xbox One or whatever. But, yeah, you gotta look that up yourself most of the time.
Yeah, you can't actually say show secret achievements or hidden achievements or anything like that.
Yeah,
it just says there's one.
Because you have to just kind of manually go through every achievement, see which one you have. At least I had to, anyway.
Yeah. I think I found out by... If you go on Steam and the achievement list, you can compare the achievements that you have compared with the ones that everyone has. And it gives like percentage of people that have got it. And there was one that was grayed out, and that was the one I didn't have on my side. So that's the only way I could find it on Steam. So it's kind of a pain in the arse. What else did I do this week? I did something. Oh, yeah. Almost swallowed the wrong hole. Yeah. I talked about a fic that I wanted to do a long time ago. That was a One Piece fic. Where Luffy is visited by Shanks, 27. He's like, yeah, I want to be the Pirate King, yada, yada, yada. And then a month later, real pirates show up.
You know, the raping and pillaging kind, yeah.
Yeah. So, I wrote that fic, which is basically going to be Luffy as a Marine.
It's pretty great.
Which is a surprisingly... I don't see that many of those. In fact, I think I've
good
seen
ones,
2.
anyway.
I've seen the one that I complained vehemently about, where it was literally just following the plot of canon, despite the fact that the main character is on the opposite side of the conflict. I think I saw one other that just generally wasn't very good. Don't remember it very much. But, yeah, I thought I'd give it a go. Just sort of out of nowhere, just felt like, fuck it, I'll write it. Just did.
That's how I do it.
Yeah, that fic needs a name. I'm failing to come up with one.
Yeah, it does need a name, but it occurred to me after reading the manga up to the point I have, you're going to have a really easy time recruiting people, because Nami and Zoro are both of the opinion, fuck pirates. Oh, well, okay, Zoro's more, I want to be on my own, but still.
Yeah, like, obviously you can't... My big problem with Turnabout, the One Piece fic that was rubbish, that followed the canon plot, is that you can't get some of those characters as Marines.
You're not going to get Usopp, but I don't think you care
Zoro's
about that.
easy because he hunts pirates anyway, and it's just like another step. You just say, hey, I can help you become the best swordsman in the world. We'll, get you training with Marines. There's a lot of great Marine swordsmen and such.
Plus, you get to fight Mihawk a lot more.
And
right?
Mihawk's actually a warlord, so you can fucking find him when you're ready, whatever.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And Nami, her mum was a Marine, and she hates pirates. And you show up and save the day as a fucking Marine, and you're great, and you kill the guy that's corrupt and stuff, and you're a fucking hero. Yay, I want to be a Marine too.
It occurs to me that's going to have a very... I don't really know a whole lot about Usopp, actually, yet.
Usopp's dad was a pirate, and he's very, very proud of it.
Yeah, you're not getting that dude.
Right.
Which, I don't think you care about that anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You don't want
Sanji, likewise, would be difficult. Not impossible, but difficult.
You could, however, get Kobe to join you.
You could, yes.
Why?
And make him man up.
Yeah, you could.
You could basically take Garp's role, who basically...
Yeah.
I'm spoiling it a little bit for Slicer, but he basically trains Kobe to be a decent Marine. Yeah. Yeah.
Chopper...
Beyond that, Chopper...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't for Chopper.
Yeah, maybe.
Robin, obviously not. For 1,000 different reasons.
Yeah. Brooke would be... No, I don't think...
Brooke would probably be pretty easy. He's already dead, as far as the Marines are concerned.
Frankie? No Frankie.
No Frankie.
Frankie... You would have to approach the whole... Well, the CP9 thing wouldn't happen. So you could maybe do some things. Maybe.
I think getting him in at that point then would just be forcing it, though. I mean...
Maybe.
The CP9 thing isn't even happening. There's no real...
Yeah. It might be more appropriate to hire one of the CP9 guys, the shipwrights from there. In that sense.
To be honest, if
you're
going to go a Marine route, you should recruit Marines into the crew, actual Marines, canon Marines, because that'd be a lot more interesting, because you don't have access to those characters.
I was thinking of doing stuff with Smoker and Tashigi, to be honest. Yeah. So, yeah.
Like, you now have access to characters that were previously would never work with Luffy.
Yeah, have fun with it. Dig through the fucking wiki and find some characters.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to mention it, but Nami's entire arc seems to be about seeing the world as not in black and white anymore, sort of. But so that would have a very interesting effect on her character if she never really comes to that realization, or it isn't as impactful, I guess.
It'd be instead of, oh hey, it's not all black and white. It's like, yeah, pirates are super evil. So let's all go with the Marines.
Luffy isn't of that opinion, though, at least in my fic.
Yeah.
So it's more like the lesson she learns from her arc, I guess, is you shouldn't tar everyone with the same brush, I guess. Something like that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there are good pirates and bad pirates. But I guess you could have her learn that lesson by saying there are good Marines and bad Marines, because Luffy versus Nezumi and such. And then Luffy would perhaps go into detail explaining to her his philosophy on pirates.
That would help, yeah. Maybe not as much as seeing it firsthand, but maybe...
Like, he's seen the best and worst of them in the space of a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
The ones who kept Zoro captive, whose names I've already forgotten, were pretty bad, yeah. So telling her what happened there would be a good idea.
Forgot about Morgan, not quite Captain Morgan.
Not quite Captain, I like that.
Yeah. That's really weird, though, how they mixed up the ranks. I don't know how you do that.
Don't forget it. It happened. We've been into it. It's over.
Lieutenant is practically a synonym of, like, adjutant and, assistant. I don't know how you... whatever. Anyway. So that's written. I need a title for it. And then that's going to go up.
A title for Marine Luffy?
Yeah.
Well, originally it was called One Piece because One Piece was the goal, essentially, to become the Pirate King.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, what would his goal would be to become an admiral then, right?
Not really. I mean, the idea of rank doesn't really register, at least at this point in the story. It's just
other
more...
than that, I mean,
he's seen what real pirates do and wants to protect people from
Other than that, the first thing that came to my mind was, a pirate's life is not for me.
That's too long and unwieldy.
Yeah, I know.
Brainstorm on it. Because the name does not seem good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. I was thinking of fitting justice in there somewhat because Marines like to throw that word around a lot.
Did you say lame, or were you just exhaling?
I was grunting.
How about instead of One Piece, you call it One Justice?
That's
How's that?
This is awful. All these are awful.
Long arm of the law. Get it? Because Luffy?
That one's good in a really terrible way.
Awesome. I like that one.
I don't. I'm not calling it that.
Aww. Well, if you have no other suggestions, you're going to have to use it.
I'll think of something.
Really good.
If it was a humor fic, it would work. It's not.
Alright.
By the way, it was really... I hope I'm going to put it up before fucking podcast comes out, but it was really, really hard to do a dramatic death for a character named Whoop Slap.
You pulled it off, but that was... I didn't know his name was that until I read your fic. I had completely forgotten that was his name.
So...
Okay. Yeah, I'll come up with something that is better than zero suggestions.
Long arm of the law. Great.
Hey, listeners, we're open to suggestions.
It's a bit late for that. Like I said, I want to put it up before the podcast
I'm
comes
going
out so that it doesn't spoil shit.
You can rename it. It's not hard. If there's a good one, anyway. I mean.
Yeah. Zero, you was going to say something?
I'm going to be looking through this, see what I can find. Looking through marine stuff. Maybe I could find something. Ship titles and whatnot.
Yeah. Like, okay. The big shot Marines have, like, their own versions of justice, right? You have the red guy's absolute justice, you have the yellow guy's lazy justice, or is it the blue guy? I don't know. That might have been a concept that Ken came up with, but I feel like giving Luffy his own brand of justice would be a good title for the fic, but I can't think of one.
It's a good start.
I'm looking at nautical terms right now. So, Black Book of Justice? I don't know. Because in the 1300s, a collection of maritime laws and conduct became known as the Black Book of the Admiralty. The punishments for offenses were often harsh. Today, if your name is in someone's black book, they believe you have offended them in some way. I'm looking through nautical terms, and I'm looking for anything that sounds good.
The only time I've heard of a black book like that is a little black book, like a dating list.
Yeah. A booty call list.
Or Bible Black.
Why would you ever mention that, ever?
Because other people have mentioned it, so I felt the need to. Dead Man's Justice?
Can we move past this? This is taking too long.
Yeah, a little bit, and that doesn't make sense, Zero.
It's like Dead Man's Chest, but with
no,
justice.
It isn't at all. Okay, that's pretty much my week anyway. I'll come up with something.
Sure.
Zero, your turn.
Alright, so, I'm gonna be taking a break from writing fan fiction for a little bit.
Oh.
Mainly because, one, I'm tired of writing fan fiction. I'm happy to think of being restrained by other things that people have made. Like I was writing, and also with my main story, M1N470, I wrote myself pretty badly into a corner. To the point where I'm starting to question where I'm going with the story and what I want the story to be, because on the one hand, if I go with this angle that I'm thinking about going, then I kind of destroy my pre-made plot. But at the same time, the story gets exciting again, and I start caring about it a lot more. On the other hand, I wimp out, I go with my pre-made plot, and it starts to be not as fun. And I'm kind of stuck in that situation where I'm not sure exactly where to go and what to do, and then I don't know. I don't want to do something to create even more angst on top of all the angst there's been so far. But it's like there's no other choice.
If there's no other choice, then you have to do it. I mean, it's a necessary evil at that point.
But for the time being, I want to write some of my own stuff and just kind of work on doing some original stuff, because I've had some ideas, and I think it would be good to take a short break from writing fanfiction and worrying about that. I mean, I've taken breaks before, but not a break to write something original.
I can't believe you. I've gotten in those moods before, yeah.
So, there's that. Before the podcast, we were talking about doing D&D, because Roll20 and talking about the classes got everybody excited. So, I'm probably going to end up being the DM, because I have all the materials and I've experienced.
At this point, it's easier doing that than having to look for someone.
Yeah, and plus it keeps... Yeah?
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
For God's sake, Ken, go.
Okay, Zero wasn't a fan. He wanted to be a player at first, but I think I can convince him to, like, DM, to be God Zero. That's what he wants to be. You know, control of everything.
Kenshi wants to be a monk because they're the coolest. Especially if the spell Jump is cast on him, which triples his jump distance, and it's already doubled by one of his sort of perks that he gets, class features. So he could basically jump like the Hulk, essentially.
Ken wants to be a monk because it's the only class that lets you punch someone in the soul.
Also, you punch someone in the soul. You get immune to poison, disease. You get a timeless body. You can run on walls and water. Like,
I'm very excited.
I could be timeless. With wild magic, you can make yourself younger.
Are you going to be a Dragonborn sorcerer?
Really, really lucky. No, wild magic.
No, like, okay. So, we need to discuss races for that. Gosh.
Awesome.
Like,
Wild magic. No, it's easy.
No, it's like races. Elf. Like, okay, elf. And then Kenshi would probably be human, right? Unless you want to be an orc or something.
Human.
Okay. And then...
You have to be human first to become superhuman, so...
Yeah. And then, Slicer would be...
I don't even know.
You should be a halfling. Or gnome.
No?
You should be a gnome. It's the greatest.
Gonna have to say no to that. No.
You just have to say gnome to
that? I knew somebody was gonna say that.
Yeah.
But...
You know me.
Ugh. You can't make the same joke twice. That's... Alright.
I was recently looking at, like, D&D stories also on the D&D Green Text Reddit. And
that sounds really fun.
There's some really great stories. I'm gonna link one to you guys. It's kind of you don't have to read it right now, but you probably should read it sometime soon, because this is just a great example of the originality that people have. So I've decided that I guess I'm going to be the DM, which means I need a lot of reading to do and a lot of practice and training to do, because I need to read the whole DM, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and also I'm probably going to be constructing my own world if I'm not stealing from my friend and taking his world, because I've already learned a lot about that world. So I was thinking about going with a pre-made world, but it doesn't sound as fun. Because I'm a writer, I want to be more imaginative than that.
Yeah, I made my vote for Forgotten Realms, but he said no. DM gets veto.
I mean, I'll take a look at Forgotten Realms, but I don't want to. Like, it's easier if I know the area myself than to just do a lot of reading and just borrow all that stuff, because then I can just manipulate stuff however I want if it's my own world.
Yeah, I guess.
Other than that whole thing with the thingamabob, one of my coworkers recently quit at KFC. So, we had at one point 7 cooks. We now have 4.
Are you saying you had too many cooks?
We had a good amount. We had new cooks coming in, so we could...
It's completely sandbagging that joke. I love it.
Anyways, so I had to work yesterday, and I don't normally work on Mondays.
Sorry. I'm good. Keep going.
But I was working 6 to 10. I get in there. He's tired, and I'm just filled with energy because I rested before working, and I got done really, really early. I got done with everything at, like, astonishing pace. Like, he normally would have fallen behind, way behind, and it was just... I felt cool because I was so energetic and fixing everything. Other than that, nothing immediately springs to mind. but if something does, I'll probably mention it completely out of context at some point when we're talking about something completely unrelated.
Sure.
Okay.
That's why we...
So you're done?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so... I guess we're going to move on to our first and possibly only topic, technically. We've had this on the list for a long time, and I've basically not mentioned it at all, because this one's going to probably take the entire episode. I would be surprised if it didn't. So, what we're going to be talking about this week is maintaining reader engagement.
Now, this is a troubling topic.
Yeah, this is something that people have difficulty with, depending on the circumstance of what they're writing a lot of the time. Like, some people have trouble writing fights, some people have trouble writing just ordinary, run-of-the-mill, day-to-day scenes, or they have trouble writing exposition without it just sounding bland and boring. You get the idea. People have different problem areas that, and that tends to bleed through to the reader. The writer doesn't really express anything they're trying to express very well during those circumstances, and so you lose engagement with the reader. They stop paying as much attention. They just sort of skim it to get to the good bits again. That's a bad thing, obviously.
It's very easy to do that to readers, get them to start skimming. It's very, very easy.
We mentioned this in the Reflux, but the first chapter and the second chapter, you impressed with the first chapter, and sometimes, you will, in fact, 90% of the time, you will notice a significant drop-off in readers once you do the second chapter, unless your story is immaculate.
Yeah. Here's the thing about that. The first chapter sets the tone, the second one and everything after it has to keep the rhythm.
That's a good way of putting it.
You
need to keep the story going at a decent pace so that it can't slow down too much. It has to... Most of the time you're going to have to slow down after the first chapter, because the first chapter, people expect, something important to happen.
Yeah.
So that it makes them want to read more.
You can slow down the plot in the second chapter if you make up for it with the characters.
Yeah.
The second or third chapters when you got to start getting your stuff together, the pacing and all that stuff.
You start world building, you start character building, and it all starts to come together as a setting for the series.
Yeah.
That you're going to be writing.
These aren't necessarily hard numbers, by the way. If you have a short chapters, you're probably going to extend it a little longer. If you have long chapters, it might even be part of chapter 2 you start world building. But, just a guide.
Yeah.
It's up to you. It's just make sure that you, by the whatever point, second, third, fourth, you have your rhythm set of how you're going to have things unfold as you go along.
And things that immediately will kill reader engagement... there's a lot of them.
A lot of the time it depends on the circumstance of what you're trying to write at the time, which is why this is going to be such a long topic. We're probably going to tackle most of the problem areas that people tend to have.
Number one, I feel like random OCs that appear can sometimes, if they take a significant role, like in the middle of the story, and they weren't introduced at the beginning, and a random OC appears, and they start becoming a very important character, if they're not done well, they're going to kill reader engagement. If they're done at all, they're going to kill some reader engagement, because a lot of people just don't like OCs on principle. So if they're not expecting that when they start your story, and you introduce an OC...
That's more... a question of a pet peeve for certain readers.
Yeah.
We're more talking about a more general view of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't convey everything well, and people are just gonna.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just gonna skim it just for the sake of I don't care about this, and it affects enough people that it's a problem.
Here's one of the things about that.
I mean, if people don't like OCs, then they're never going to like OCs. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's part of your story. You just got to accept it.
Yeah, about that, like the keeping interest part, especially in the earlier chapters, I understand that world building is important, but if you are going to explain something about the world, like to get the setting across, there needs to be a reason for it happening.
Yeah.
Don't just throw information up there just to get it out there.
Do it in an interesting way. Don't lay all your cards out on the table in the first 5 chapters and then say, okay, that's the entire world, let's go. Spread it out.
Yeah, I've read a few fics where they did it probably the worst possible way. They spent the first 2 or 3 chapters literally just exposition dump. You can't do that. No one cares about your world until they care about something in it. So you need to give them something to latch onto, and then you can build stuff around them.
Yeah. For example, One Piece. Luffy's a very interesting character. People like Luffy. They like the whole idea they like the whole pirate thing. And so that leads people kind of wanting to know more about, okay, what are the other pirates like then? And it slowly expands itself, and you start to learn more and more as the series progresses. If One Piece started with an info dump of, there's the East Blue and the West Blue, and there's the Grand Lines over there, and there's New World too, and don't forget about Whitebeard, and those are the Revolution Army over there, and here are all the admirals.
All that stuff's really important, so I'm going to tell you about it right now.
It's really important, like 300 chapters from now.
Yeah.
But, keep it in mind. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
So, exposition at the beginning, sure, but make it really important for something that happens in the first chapter. Otherwise, there's no need for it.
Make the exposition
some basic world geography and some specific geography to the local location is fine, but anything more than that is too much.
Yeah.
If it's important. I mean, it can be if it fits, but yeah, it's kind of case by case.
Yeah.
So early on, it should be, this story is about such and such. He lives here. He does this, and this is why it's important. This is what you need to know about why what he does is important. And then
we've been talking about early on, but what about much later on into the fixed life? Maintaining reader engagement at that point.
Well, basically, we pretty much slipped into the first subset of this topic by talking a lot about world building. So let's talk about world building later on to thick, after you've established your main cast, you've established what, let's say, faction they belong to, and where they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it, all that stuff. Then how do you establish other things? How do you establish let's say their enemies have already been established. How do you establish, say, a third faction that is sort of neither aligned for nor against them? How do you establish other lands and places that they've never been to, but will probably be going to soon? How do you bring all of that into it and make it not boring and just an info dump?
Don't do what Naruto did, where you introduce the BBEG right at the very end with like.
You're going to have to clarify that because you're making a stupid acronym that no one understands.
Big bad evil guy.
There you go. Thank you. Didn't know what you meant.
The big bad evil guy at the very end, after exposition, at the very end, that kind of contradicts things.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad, yeah.
Okay. There's a problem with having too much exposition. Yes, there is also a problem with having far, far too little.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have too much exposition, yes, it's going to be a problem. You're going to get people just sort of, fine, whatever, move on. But if you have too little, then the story stops making sense. And not only will you lose engagement, you'll lose the reader entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's important enough to build your world that you need something. If it's important to how the plot is unfolding, you need to have something there first. Like, it's pointless trying to build the world after... It's pointless trying to exposit on a place after the characters have already left that place and they're never going back.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
Oh, but we want to learn about the characters that are going to stay on the island and not be important again. We want to find out what happened to them. Well...
You can do.
You
in,
can.
Like, side stuff that, you know...
But...
People are probably going to skim that too.
Yeah.
But
you can do that, but...
And it's a nice thing for the people that are really, really invested in those characters for whatever reason, but
you don't want to...
The majority of people are just going to skip past it because they don't care.
You don't want to spend too long on that, if anything.
The simplest way I find to... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ken.
Mine's going to take longer, so go ahead, Slicer.
Okay.
A good way to introduce a new land in a subtle kind of way is... like in One Piece, for example, trade is a big deal because there's a lot of ocean. So, if somebody's shopping, just have maybe a shopkeeper mention something is from a certain land that you want to introduce. So it's a subtle way to do it, I guess, as long as you don't go into way too many details. Some kind of foreshadowing event like that.
So, yeah, there's like a lot you can do with very little. So, like, for example, if we're going to stick with One Piece, because, you know, it's on the brain for obvious reasons, you have the main cast from East Blue. It's the Eastern Sea. It is pretty heavily inspired by Eastern culture. So you have Japanese, you have katana, you have martial artists and such things. That happens. Then you say, have a character, like Slicer said, go to a shopkeeper, and they say, oh, this is from the North Blue, and shows them a sword, and it is a very ornate broadsword of, like, say, medieval English design. And that tells you, okay, the North is probably of European stylings. Yeah. And the people that live there probably follow their mindset a lot more. So in the East Blue, you probably have a lot of, you know, honor and family and like people as part of a collective thing, and that is the important thing. It's not the one, it's the many. And then you have, say, the European, where it is the one that follows another, is the mindset, usually. So, like, you have knights who follow a noble or a king.
Lordships
and the focus is on
stuff like that.
The focus is on the hierarchy. You have the one person at the top, and you have the people that follow them. And that's it. And then, like, with the Eastern, it's everyone just does what they can for the group as a whole, as it were, whether they're the leader or the, you know, the grunts at the bottom. So with just one throwaway mention and showing of one object from a certain place, you can tell a lot of things about that place. It doesn't take much to give a lot of exposition just by inferral, just by implying certain things about it. Whether you want to turn some of those things on their heads a little bit later down the line, you can, but that's something that you need to work a lot more expositing when you're actually dealing with something from that, you know, particular area.
Yeah, just plan that ahead of time. Don't just throw that in.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's... Do we want to talk about world building for that anymore?
No, I think that's pretty okay.
Okay, okay, let's go with another one that's on the list. We're probably going to have to come up with suggestions after we've done these four, because there's four of them.
Yeah.
Fights. How to maintain reader engagement in fights. This is a thing I have problems with as a reader. Because a lot of the time in fights, it's difficult to follow what's actually happening.
Yeah.
It's difficult to image it because I'm not a fighter. So if people are going in real in-depth and actual fighting knowledge, then I don't fucking know. I'm a bit lost. If it's like, grand spectacle fights or anything like that, it's not a spectacle because I'm reading its words on a page, so it's hard to imagine. Such things like that.
Alright. Here's the thing. Fights generally tend to only work in small numbers, so don't ever try and write a big-ass army versus army battle like Lord of the Rings or some shit like that. If you have to do that, just give a broad scope of what's happening at certain points, like the giant elephant things or fucking up the entire lines of men or whatever. Don't try and go key for everything going on. Focus on the smallest points, what the actual characters that you're focusing on are doing in that particular battle. And
I suppose I'm just going to contradict you a little bit, but just in very specific events, like in a big army battle and such things, you could say focus on the perspective of one soldier, and all he focuses on is down there on the field, it is chaos. You can barely even tell whether you're hitting friend or foe, and then such and such a thing happens and comes in and wrecks everyone's shit. And you don't just go blow for blow how the fights are going. That's pointless. No one cares, and it's not going to affect anything in the long run anyway.
Yeah.
But you just use it as a way to establish what it's like on the front lines of this conflict. And that's all you do.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the smaller numbers, people in the fights, like one-on-one fights, small group battles and things like that, you're going to be focusing on, your main character is going to be in most of the fights. You're going to be, by then, you're going to have a formula set up for how his battles go. He's going to be in 2 or 3 fights. You will develop a formula for how that person fights, he or she fights. And then from that point forward, it's your job to do everything you can to go against that formula. What people are expecting out of how they're supposed to fight their opponent. Think of ways that they're going to counter this and that, throw them off their game, things like that. It'll keep with expectations, but it will keep things fresh.
Mm. The last thing you want is for every fight to sound the same, or to read the same, rather.
Yeah.
If you can hear my stomach, it's because I'm hungry. I apologize.
Alright.
I don't know whether it's picking that up on the mic, so...
No.
Okay. Yeah, so... Anything else, Ken? Because I have no idea of fights. I'm not good at them, so...
Said this before, to keep attention on your story, don't be afraid to have a particular person lose. You don't have to kill them off, you don't want to, but don't be afraid to have, your main character or a focused, spotlighted character lose their fight. The protagonist lose. It's okay.
Yeah. I'll be honest. If I don't expect the character to lose, if they've won every fight so far, I'm probably going to just skip to the end of the fight and just assume they won.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot.
On the opposite end...
Especially if the fight is of mostly no consequence.
On the opposite end, if your character's losing all the time, give them a victory. It's no fun to read a story where the character never truly succeeds.
Mm.
I mean, it's interesting, sure, but...
I've seen stories where the main character that was the point, is he lost all the time, but it doesn't need to be a fighting victory if you want to give him the victory. Just something personal. Just they did something to boost their confidence.
Mm. If the character's losing all the time, then make it a small victory. Oh, I actually hit him this time. That's a victory in itself for a character that sucks that bad, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And then you expand on that, and then they get better gradually. Because they're supposed to be the loser character, it's obviously going to be very gradual, but every now and again, something to that character is significant happens. That was odd phrasing. I apologize.
No, it made sense.
Yeah. Zero, anything else? Want to throw in?
Regarding fights, I feel like it's with fights in literature, it can be very hard to do it so that it's interesting because you're reading it, you're not necessarily saying it, but having knowledge about what you're writing always helps. If you're writing medieval, as you're fighting in a medieval setting, your armor is going to start breaking. Your sword is going to be chipped. Attacks that hit you will deal damage.
Eventually you'll start feeling fatigue just from fighting for so long and such things, yeah.
Oh yeah, so quickly, if you're on full plate mail and stuff like that.
Yeah, so take into account how it would be in a real fight. Because in RPG fights, you get hit, you take so-and-so damage. In a medieval fight, somebody hits you right where there's a strap helping to keep your chest plate up. Now your chest plate is kind of slightly loose, and now it's moving around every time you do it.
It's leaving you off balance and stuff.
So stuff like that needs to be taken into consideration. Depends on how much detail you want to get into, but I find that having a healthy amount of detail to really put emphasis on this is a tough fight, or our stuff is literally getting destroyed and this is not good, really helps. It helps with the tension. Don't get...
Yeah. A tip that Sam Jazz once gave me a long time ago when I asked him how to write fights was basically, imagine, pick the show that you want your fight to emulate. What do you want it to look like? Like you said, say you want your fight to look like Full Metal Alchemist, like something from that, so just imagine a scene like that. Imagine the fight going like that, and then describe how it goes. And don't just describe, this character kicks this character, and he flies back a little bit, and then jumps back to get some distance, and then he comes running in, charging with a fist, and he swings his fist. Don't just do that. He very specifically meant, don't just go blow for blow, describe what it looks like. Describe how they move. So, is it quick? Is it sharp? Is it very slow and staggered? Are they breathing heavily? Are they maybe wiping sweat from wherever they're sweating at the time?
Is it wide? Is he lunging into it? How's it going?
Do they look angry? Are they, enjoying the fight on some level and it shows? Stuff like that. Just make sure you have detail that makes it feel real. I mean, basing it on a style that you've seen is a bit of a crutch, but, it's helpful to start with, at least.
I think it's helpful forever. I mean, write for the universe you're writing for. That's good advice.
To start with, in the sense that, you're writing fan fiction, so it doesn't, write it what you're basing it on, but...
right.
If you're trying to write something original, it's probably not a good idea to just emulate someone else's fighting.
Also,
homage, but
Also, listeners, I want you to re-listen to what Casey just said and apply it to porn, because it works word for word just as well.
Okay, I guess we're segueing into romance now. Thank you, Slicer.
I was trying not to laugh. When you talking about thrusting, it was just too perfect. Oh, that was great.
So you take a lot of wide swings with a fist, do you, while you're...
I preferably not, unless that's your thing, I guess. But...
Oh, yeah.
Never changed.
I kind of regret the thing I said about are they enjoying a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The grunting, the thrusting, the sweating. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa. I'm glad of your contribution.
Yeah, happy to be here. So romance.
So romance. Okay, so this is probably one that you do a little bit of.
A little bit,
sure. Right, a lot more porn than you do romance, but you've written some romance.
Yeah, sure. Let's call it that, sure. But the thing I've found most helpful when writing romance, quote unquote, is just keep in mind what relationship you want to start with, and just keep that in mind whenever your characters are interacting. It's kind of basic, but it just comes up constantly. Well, it helps them stay in character, I suppose. And even helps decide what to do next, really.
Okay, so since the topic is maintaining engagement, how do you get people to not just fucking not care? I'll rephrase. How do you get people to care about what these characters are doing when they're having their nice romantic lovey-dovey scenes?
Okay.
Original dialogue, for the most part.
Okay.
What were you going to say, Ken?
No, go ahead. Yours, it seems like it's going to be a whole point, so go ahead and make it...
Just try to go for original dialogue. Not out of character, but everyone's read a lot of romance fics. It's kind of unavoidable, but you've seen a lot of the same stuff a lot, and I don't really know how to describe it any better than that. Just try to be original with it, try to really flesh out the characters, that kind of thing.
Yeah, romance is probably the most done genre ever. Not even just in fan fiction. Ever. So, everything's probably been done before. But, try, at least. I mean, ripping off someone else in a romance story is kind of the most pointless thing you can do.
It is, yeah.
Alright. The progression of the relationship you're trying to get across is the most difficult thing about this keeping interest part. Because if you go too fast and you get to the apex of the relationship, oh, they're together, everything's great, blah, 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 well, then what?
Yeah, you could go with the marriage and kids route, but I've never seen that make for a good story.
That absolutely changes the genre. And not everyone wants that, so you will lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
Unless it's an epilogue, naturally, because then nobody cares. It's the epilogue. They won't have to actually read it. They just have to do it for one chapter.
How the relationship progresses is important. You can keep the status quo of, you can basically set up how it's going to go and keep that for a while, but at some point you need to start making things progress. You can't just have it stay the same all the way through. You can't. Let's see.
Don't learn from anime in that regard. They go incredibly conservative. It just stays the same throughout, and yeah, you're lucky
if they ever acknowledge romance at all.
Yeah, you're lucky to get a kiss in the final episode in the last few minutes if you're lucky.
Yeah. Japan, as a culture, not particularly big on displays of affection at the best of times.
Yeah. At least publicly, anyway, from what I've heard.
Yeah. Well, to that extent, anime or whatever is kind of public as well. So they don't like showing it. Unless, obviously it's a show specifically about showing affection. So to speak. You were saying, Ken?
Something needs to happen in that dynamic to move shit along. Alright? Don't just... You got them from being, I don't like this person, being friends. That's fine. At some point, you're going to have to introduce a catalyst that will progress things further than that.
Yeah, you can let the characters be a bit flirty every now and again, and it establishes, there might be something going on here, but it's not really kicked off yet, or anything like that. So
little nods like that will help you keep the status quo of whatever part of the relationship you're in for as long as you need it to be, but eventually you're going to have to move it forward if it is indeed romance in that story. So you can use those for that, but don't go overboard to the point where, well, fuck, when is it going to get along? Is anything actually going to happen here? Don't blue ball people. Just
shout out to Partners and SAO fic. That one, oh boy.
Okay. Care to expand?
Kirito and Asuna don't split up after the first floor boss fight. They become, partners. They solo together, essentially. And so since they're around each other so often, the relationship doesn't really happen the same way as it does in canon. And the author has gone on record saying that despite everyone asking when they're actually going to get together, they've decided it's not going to happen until after ALO, or the Elfum Online, or whatever it is. And
wow.
There's a lot of flirting, there's a lot of character development, there's a lot of arguing, there's everything but the event that would get them together, which has happened multiple times, but they never act on it. And it's this.
You just hit on something very, very important. Don't tell us what the pairing is going to be if you're going to try and do that. Don't tell us, yes, they're going to eventually get together, because then there is no point in reading all that flirty bullshit.
Not to that
because
extent.
We know where it's going now.
There's definitely a threshold for that, because, that stage of relationship does have an appeal to it. I enjoy reading it, but not to that extent.
I'll rephrase a little bit. Don't tell us that it's going to happen, and don't tell us when it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Because then if people get sick of the flirty bullshit, as I said, then they can just skip those bits because they know, it's not going to happen yet, I'll just keep moving. Oh, they're fighting the thing now. Okay, cool. You don't care about the romance anymore because you know the next important thing that's going to happen. And you know exactly when it's going to happen. So you can just skip everything in between.
Yeah. Fics that are strictly about romance have an advantage in this regard, is that they're not really super long. So they can afford that to a degree.
Yeah. If you're doing romance, but you have a plot besides that, then you can't spoil it when you haven't written it yet, and you're not going to write it for a year or more. Because it just makes the whole in-between bit pointless, especially when that relationship is central to the story.
Very. Titular, even.
Were you laughing because he said titular?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Asuna is very titular.
She really is.
No, but the perky, I like that. Next.
That was something.
Slice of life.
Should we do smut at all, or?
You're just waiting for that, aren't you?
I'm honestly
smut,
curious if we're going to go into it. All right, but
since we did romance, we might as well a little bit. Let's not spend too much time on it. It's just basically an extension of romance. Just don't do the same thing again and again and again.
Yeah, I was going to mention that if you have a PWP story, which is just porn, there's no story to it. It's porn without plot. If you're going to do that, don't make them very long. That gets old really fast. And if you don't have anything to keep attention aside from the sex, which better be good, otherwise it's just you've lost people instantly, then there's really no point. And second off, the only other real point I have for this is pick a writing style. Just if it's going to be cheesy with a lot of really stupid words that somehow you can make work, then go for it. If not, pick a romancy kind of thing, or just pick a theme, I guess, for how you want to write it, and just stick with that. Don't just add cheesy porn lines in the middle of like a romance kind of thing. Hinata is not going to say "stir me up inside," that kind of thing.
Gross.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say make it appropriate for the characters. Like you say, choose a style, but if you're doing a different character... If you're writing different... I need to choose my words very carefully on this stuff. If you're writing different characters for every scene, then write in a style that would fit those characters. So, Arixum, guest on the podcast, he actually wrote his first smut scene, if you want to call it that, and he actually did it in a very, I suppose, romantic and somewhat metaphorical sense. It was between Issei and Asia, is what I'm going to call her.
All right.
And he used a lot of euphemism and told it partially from Asia's perspective, so it was sort of like she was sort of not entirely sure what's going on because, you know, it's first time and such, so she was just following Issei's lead, and just things were happening, and it was her perspective on these things happening, and it feels like such and such and such a thing. A lot of metaphor, a lot of simile, such things like that. And that fit. And if you were to do someone who is not, you know, perfect innocent angel, as Asia is depicted to be in everything ever, except Demon Lord Zero, then maybe go a little bit more for the risque side of things. Like, they would use some more, let's say, French language, so to speak.
Foreign words, you mean?
Yeah. Swearing and such, saying things like the thing that Slicer said earlier that I'm not going to say because it's really kind of gross. Yeah.
Look up a random dojin and just start copying text right out of it. Don't do that.
Yeah, that, and I had another point. Alright, if smut is not the point of your fic, like if it's the exact opposite of a porn with outplot, then keep the smut to a minimum. Like, as Slicer said, it does not have staying power as a subject. They have sex. It's great. Yay, sex. And such. And then that's pretty much the scene. And you do that again. And then you do that again. Eventually it starts to lose its luster as a subject matter. Because, you know, you've read the writer, how the writer writes such scenes, you get the point. You just kind of skip over them eventually. So, if you have a plot, let the plot be the central focus, and the smut scene's just, okay, that's a thing that's happening. It's important, so we're going to do this, and then we're going to move on, and we're going to get back to the plot. And then if it happens again, and it's important, then we'll do this, and then we'll get back to the plot.
Yeah,
because the plot is going to be central.
Use it as a payoff.
It has to be.
It's fan service. That's all it is. Don't get sucked into writing a bunch of them. You don't have to. There's no need.
You said something, Slicer, I missed it.
I just was agreeing with him, yeah.
Okay.
Should I give a suggestion on who to read for certain styles? Or I don't have really one in mind.
If you like.
If you want to
I'll be able to link it.
Really porny with it, go for Frocto on Hentai Foundry. Frocto. Frocto.
Yeah, I'm not going to link that.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. But he's pretty much mastered the really dirty kind of stuff. Pretty much, yeah. That I don't really have a better word for that, but that. Use his writing as kind of a learning tool, I suppose, if you want to do that. Because he uses all kinds of really silly words, and I'm not going to repeat them or remember them, because they don't work in any other setting. It's the weirdest thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. And I guess this is the last one. We're at an hour and a half already, so we're probably going to stop after this one. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Like I said, this would take the entire episode.
Jeez. Okay.
I wasn't kidding. This is why this has been on the topic list so long and I've not mentioned it, because I knew it was going to take up the whole goddamn thing.
Huh.
So.
You're right, though. Yeah.
Last one. Slice of life. Just regular, ordinary, day-to-day stuff happening.
Be funny.
It could be funny, yeah. That's a good way to do it.
That's a definite approach, because If it's slice of life, but it's hilarious, I want to keep reading.
I would say...
Hmm?
Sorry, do you want to go?
I was just going to say, comedy is actually rather hard to pull off right, because everybody has differences of humor, but if you do it, you're pretty good.
I've also found slice of life to be a very visual style of thing, too.
Yeah.
A lot of it's visual comedy, or just seeing reactions of characters to situations, which I suppose is also physical or visual comedy, but yeah. I'm not sure I don't even know how to really do that style, actually. It's all character development, or character interaction, rather.
Here's what can help you if you have trouble with it. Basically, take experiences from your own life, just embellish them a little. That can help.
Or a lot.
If you don't really... Yeah.
Like, I would say pretty much the same rule for smut, really. Just don't overuse it. Make it, when it happens, make it significant. Like, if you have this big, grand plot going on, huge, dramatic things are happening all of the time, just have your slice of life moments just there, like, okay, the characters get to wind down a little bit. They just go through their usual routine while they have the chance, and just enjoy every second of it while it's happening. Just take it as
this is not to be confused with the beach episode, by the way. That's the fan service episode, not the wind down episode, or arc, rather.
Yeah, so, and to do that, just take your own routine, for example. Just take, say, taking the time to cook dinner. Just something simple like that, and just have a character just relax and maybe, I don't know, hum to themselves while they're cooking a meal and just thinking about things that have happened, and let them use it as a period of reflecting. Like I say, if it's in a big plot, then they're going to need that time to decompress and such things.
Or realize some things. That could be a good moment to make some connections with things that have been happening lately, if you want to have them find out something that they wouldn't have normally figured out.
Yeah. By comparison, if you were just doing a slice of life in a pretty mundane story, like, say, a romance story, then, I'm not sure. I think Zero's approach with comedy would probably be the best way to do it. Otherwise, there's not much point to the scene.
Yeah. With slice of life, it's very character-driven. Your plot is character-driven. Your interactions are character-driven. Like, if you're doing a big fantasy, you always have a big overarching plot where people over here and people over there are doing things and something big is happening. Slice of life is much more small scale. So you want to make it interesting. Like, there's a reason why like defrag can exist. It's a slice of life about a whole gaming club that exists, and they go through.
That was the really dumb one, right?
It's hilarious, but
like they had the water type, and he just fucking spits at him or something.
Yeah, like it was dumb, but it was hilarious to people who find that appealing.
Okay.
I know Kenshi liked it.
Huh? I wasn't paying attention.
Defrag.
I have a name. Oh yeah, I like that.
See?
Kind of the problem with romance in slice of life stuff is the characters are already bonding on a regular basis, so it has to be a different kind of bonding, which isn't always easy.
Yeah.
Instead of romance, you have to have it like them being more comfortable with each other as just people.
Okay. And now that we have successfully wound down that topic with that winding down subject, I guess we're done with maintaining reader engagement for the time being. I think we have basic rules for it at the top. And then we had world building, and we had fights, and we had romance, and we had smut. Thank you, Slicer, and we had slice of life.
No problem.
If you guys have any questions regarding any of this, feel free to ask in the comments. We might not talk about it in the podcast if there's a lot of them, but we can certainly answer in the comments at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Any genres you want to know about, we're familiar with. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
okay. All right. Last topic then. Recommendations. Anyone got any?
I recommend you go to the Reddit D&D green text because it is one of the most hilarious things. Even if you know nothing about D&D, it has some of the greatest stories.
Like, it's almost better if you don't know anything about D&D because like everything is a surprise then.
Like, for example, Grand's the AIDS Night, where there was a D&D group where you can make custom characters, and there was this one dude who was always making OP custom classes. He would cry so loudly that the DM would just allow it. So this guy made Grand's the AIDS Night, and then just completely wrecked him by using AIDS. Offensive, yes. Effective, yes.
Sounds kind of impractical, but he made it work, I guess.
He secretly gave AIDS to the other guy by giving it to. It's like a spell. He has a spell that can give people AIDS. And so he gave AIDS to like an entire town. And so they were going to go off and so this group was going to go off and join the bad guy and like screw the one dude who was making the OP characters. And he's like, okay, I'm going to get the Duke to raise an army. And he was bedridden with AIDS, and so was the entire town. There was no army, and so he rage quitted. And it's just like ridiculous stories like that.
Okay.
Like, my gosh, there was like, some of them are heart-wrenching, and some of them are just hilarious, but just go through the top stories on that, and you will lose a lot of your free time, but these are stories that people essentially make up themselves as they go along. So, it's great to read.
Human creativity at its finest, essentially.
Yeah.
And its craziest. But, that's the appeal.
I remember that I linked one earlier that was kind of ridiculous.
The meat puppet halfling? Yeah, that was
no. The halfling. No, but there was one where they were doing an evil campaign, and so like everybody else was being overtly evil, and this dude the most subtly just evil, heart-wrenching thing, and it was genius. And it's just the stuff that these people come up with are fantastic. Human creativity at its finest. So just browse through that. If you have the free time, it's worth it.
Could you provide a link for that? It'd be easier than Casey trying to find it.
I will link...
What? Sorry?
I will send a link for you guys right now. This is all queued up for the top stories. Yeah, these are great. A lot of them tend to be about screwing over the bad players that end up getting there, or the bad DMs. Old Man Henderson is one of my favorites. It's the guy who actually won at Call of Cthulhu.
That's a good one. I read that way a while back. It was really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else?
Yeah, shockingly. I do.
Okay. Sisa has a recommendation that I didn't queue him up for. God damn it.
Yeah,
Novel.
My internet is terrible, but I managed to load a few chapters, enough to load this short story. The Flame of Life, a Familiar Zero Dark Souls crossover. She essentially summons the Witch of Izalith after mid-creation of the corrupted First Flame, or she tries to replicate the First Flame, and it goes poorly. Very poorly. And she's on fire when she gets summoned. So, yeah. Once that's over with, the author does an amazing job of characterizing Izalith, which is the name she takes. She's a mother hen that has to be a mother hen. She can't do anything else. She just starts collecting daughters. It's a really fun read. It's not very long. It's 7,000 words, and I closed it already. But it's like 15,000 or 7 chapters, 15,000 words, 20,000, something like that.
Cool. Okay. Anybody else?
I'm going to go ahead and recommend the thing that I talked about on the podcast before, that Gate one. I'm going to butcher this. It is Gate, Jeitai, Konouchi, Nite, Kaku.
I'm not even going to bother you pronouncing it wrong already.
Okay. Gate, thus the Gate, thus the JSDF fought there. Just call it Gate. It's much easier for everyone involved. And it's...
I'm just going to say Gate manga. There we go.
Yeah, Gate manga. Freaking Gate to another world opens up in the middle of Tokyo. An army comes out, starts wrecking shit.
Ken's T-Pain.
Here's the thing. It's like a medieval fantasy kind of army. And they have guns on the other side of that gate. So the Japan Self-Defense Force pushes them back and then goes through the gate and tears their shit up even worse. Kills like 150,000 of their army. Just like 10,000 soldiers, set up a base camp behind the gate, and that's where the story starts. It's really good. Like 46 chapters. They're just dropping bombs. They're just like bringing Apache helicopters and mowing down entire like lines of fucking charging cavalry. Great. Shooting mortars at them. Outstanding.
Who is the bad guy here?
The Empire on the medieval side of the gate is the bad guy.
Well, they did invade Earth, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're also dicks.
Oh, well, all right then. Yeah, kill them all.
Yeah, you have no problems with watching these people die. The people in charge are dicks. So also, America, Russia, China, basically any superpower you can imagine kind of wants what's on the other side of that gate because it's a lot of untapped resources. So there's that going on too.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
It's pretty damn good.
This page.
God, I bet America would want to put a pipeline through that goddamn portal. Just say,
hey,
oil. What are you saying, Cesar?
This page is tiny. Do these pages get bigger? Because I can't read them.
You can click on them.
Yeah.
Click on them and it'll expand.
You're reading Here's the thing. You're reading the first chapter. I think they put up a fixed version of the first chapter.
Click on everything and it expands. That's what I've learned.
Oh. Yeah, these are double pages. That's why they're so small. You can... Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, if you're reading it from manga here, like where I showed you, they fixed page 1, so they put it like bigger so you can read it better without having to do that.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Also, on manga here, they have a larger button, typically. They just click. If you look below the manga, it says larger, and you just click that, and it fixes everything.
Yeah, we got it. Okay, my recommendation is Death and His Pieces in a Game of Chess. This is Bleach and High School DxD. Okay. Ichigo does a thing. I forget what happened. Oh, right. He transfers to Kuo, and he gets immediately targeted by a fallen angel. It is not Reynare. It is the Kalawana. I think that was the name.
Which one is that?
What?
Kalawana from DxD. Fallen Angel.
Oh, I don't remember the...
First off, she was one of the flunkies, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, she targets him and breaks his unpopped toe. But she does not end up killing him because, that would be dumb. And people that write fics that have that happen are usually kind of dumb. Arxum being one of the many exceptions. Not many exceptions, rather. So that happens, and gets revealed as not being Ichigo's real Zanpakuto, and his real Zanpakuto has a Bankai that is a set of chess pieces.
That seems weirdly convenient. Like,
it does, doesn't it? So, yeah, all of those pieces go into himself, except for one pawn that goes into Calawana, and then stuff happens. It's not actually done anything with the major cast of DxD yet. Issei appeared briefly in Chapter 2. That's pretty much it.
Huh.
So far, his peerage, if you want to call it that, consists of Calawana, who doesn't know that yet, and Pfizer, the stray devil from the first arc, the one that turns into a spider lady.
Alright, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spider ladies terrify me, but they're sexy, so let's go for it.
Yeah, she's not actually a spider lady yet. He gets to her just after she killed her master. Thus, the crazy hasn't set in yet, and she's sort of, kind of, bit of a broken bird thing going on.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's pretty good so far. It's, solidly written. And I like how it's avoiding a lot of the pitfalls that so many DxD writers fall into.
The author already got respect from me for not having Rainare as the one who kills him, or fights him, rather.
Yeah, basically Ichigo ends up being the target of Calawana while Rainare is still going after Issei, because that's, the thing that has to happen.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's pretty cool. I like it so far. It's only 3 chapters hang on, let's work out, 12,000 words. But it's only been started the 1st of this month, so...
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to more of that. Hoping to see more soon. So, if that writer happens to be listening, I'd appreciate if you to, post more.
Right, art slave, or slave.
I love my hypocrisy about this kind of thing. It's great.
Yeah.
I guess that's it for this week. We're at an hour and 47. God damn.
Yeah.
We had a lot of recommendations, so that happened.
Yeah.
I would like to thank everyone for listening to the Fandom Flux Podcast, episode 86, probably. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so through the Blogspot page, the comments, our own personal profiles on fanfiction.net, or through the YouTube channel through the comments. Please donate on Patreon if you feel so inclined. There's a link in the description. We'd very much appreciate it. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the Fandom Flux Podcast, episode 86. Bye now.
Bye.
See you guys.
Enjoy your week, suckers.
Don't call them suckers.
Your eyes.
Hey-oh, 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 hey-oh.
You said you don't remember the words to the song, so I don't even want to hear you sing it if you don't know the words.
I know the words.
I know the words.
He does now.
Yeah. If I can learn, dude. If I was going to sing it every time we went to the fucking Bastille, of course I fucking learn the words. I was supposed to end this thing like a minute ago. Whoops. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.